Hello, welcome to The Good, The Bad, the TNA Impact for Impact Wrestling on February 23rd, 2012. And I'm going to go ahead and start off the show pretty much with just saying what I ended up really liking about the show. And I'm going to end it with just something that really irked me and I ended up not really liking it. I felt like it was not really needed for the show at all. But let's go ahead and start off with what I ended up liking. I did like the tag team match for the tag team titles with Magnus and Samoa Joe versus Crimson and Matt Morgan. This was obviously a rematch from the pay-per-view. What I ended up liking about it is that they put this whole Matt Morgan Crimson feud on the back burner for the past few months because of the tag team titles and the fact that they held them for that period of time. And now with these series of matches, these two series of matches with Samoa Joe and Magnus were losing the titles and losing their rematch. Now they're going to rebuild this feud back up and they're going to continue it from where it left off. And it was pretty much just the two of them trying to prove who was the better of the two. And this will be nice because once again they can kind of focus on that undefeated streak of Crimson and everything. And it wasn't, and the first match that they had wasn't an absolutely horrible match. It wasn't anything great, but the feud itself was, it was a nice feud, and it's nice to see it continue here. Another thing that I ended up liking was the build-up between Austin Aries and Zema Ion, because obviously Zema Ion's being portrayed as the #1 contender now after the pay-per-view, and his match with Alex Shelley, it was a nice match. It was a nice way for him to build up. For them to build up Zema Ion in there and try to pose him as a legitimate threat to Austin Aries' title. And their interaction after that match was really nice as well. And it was just nice to see them start building up this feud right here at this point in time. The other thing I ended up really liking, I do like the direction the Gail Kim Madison Rayne storyline is going. Gail Kim just had a one-on-one match with ODB. It was a nice match. It wasn't anything spectacular, but the interaction when Madison Rayne decided to come out there, it kind of distracted Gail Kim. It almost gave an area where, Gail might somewhat be turning face, but probably won't be turning face in this case because they are still tag champs. I do see them losing those titles before the pay-per-view where... and it will just be the two of them going out for the Knockouts title. But the interaction is like Madison Rayne was, she just wants to show support for her friend. Gail Kim's not buying into it. I did like it. I did like that little interaction that they had in there, and that builds up their feud going into the pay-per-view match as well. The other thing that I ended up really liking is that they are continuing this AJ Styles Kazarian feud a little bit, and now it doesn't seem like Kazarian is as hesitant as he once was with doing the interactions and the dirty deeds of Christopher Daniels out there, because during that television title match he just barged right past Christopher Daniels and did the attack. He wasn't forced into doing anything. He wasn't coerced into doing anything, and you could even see the shock and awe on Christopher Daniels' face, like he was kind of surprised that he didn't have to tell him what to do this time around. He kind of just did it. So I do like that they're continuing the feud, and it's kind of going in a different direction where, Kazarian's kind of not that, he's reluctant. He's a reluctant face, but he's helping the heel. He's kind of turning full heel here, and I'm liking that direction where they're going. The Kurt Angle Jeff Hardy, or the Kurt Angle and Bully Ray versus James Storm and Jeff Hardy match, that was good. I'll get into the full thing a little bit later on. The match itself was pretty darn good, and like I said, I'll get to that in a moment here. I just wanted to say it was a good match. I'm liking the whole, pretty much Kurt Angle versus Jeff Hardy, while you have James Storm, who's still working with Bully Ray, but he's probably going to be working more with Bobby Roode here in the near future. And I do like that this kind of keeps Jeff Hardy into somewhat of a main event type picture, but it's not keeping him on the title, which I was kind of glad that they've kind of taken him away from the title matches at this point in time. The Bully Ray James Storm feud, it's not a bad feud, and it leads to some really good matches as well. So I don't mind them keeping this going because James Storm doesn't have the title match until Lockdown. The other thing I ended up really liking, the interaction between Sting and Bobby Roode tonight. The whole build-up was Sting sent out a tweet saying, "I'm done," and they've been building around that for the whole week. Like, many were thinking he was leaving. Obviously, he wasn't going to leave. This was leading into a match, with him and Bobby Roode. And, you know, he can't, when Sting came out there, he gave the whole impression that he was leaving, which kind of forced Bobby Roode to come out and start talking about his career and everything. And then Sting kind of gave his realization of what he meant by he was done. He was done just taking Bobby Roode's crap. And he kind of went back into his Joker gimmick that he had gone into when Hogan was in charge of everything and Sting was kind of just going psycho. And that side of him, I don't mind that side of him. It was pretty nice and everything. It was a nice turnabout, nice different character for Sting at that point in time. It's nice to see that back a little bit here. And this leads into, you know, Sting having a match with Bobby Roode at the pay-per-view, which obviously this pay-per-view is going to need it because it's not going to have a title match or world title match going into it. So it was, as of like last week, it was kind of a throwaway pay-per-view. Now it's got some intrigue going into it, as you know, you have a legitimate main event now going into the pay-per-view. So that was nice to see, a nice interaction between Bobby Roode and Sting in there. This brings me to the one thing I did not like about the show. And last week they brought in Brandon Jacobs from the New York Giants. Now, granted, don't get me wrong, I don't mind seeing celebrities or pro athletes get in there, especially pro athletes, because it's because they are athletes, and it is the sports entertainment area. He's during his off season, so he doesn't have to worry about dealing with Giants business or anything at this point in time. I don't mind that. It was the interaction going into the match at the with the tag match that night with Kurt Angle, Bully Ray, James Storm, and Jeff Hardy. And this is pretty much all I've got to say. It's like, you know, they didn't announce this a no disqualification match. You pull the table in there and everything. Let's use some logic here. Either have the ref get distracted some way. It can be even the dumbest reason for it, but at least have him get distracted or get knocked out before Brandon Jacobs kind of chokeslams Bully Ray through the table. I mean, seriously, I know it's a whole scripted event and everything, but let's use some logic there and make it look somewhat real. I mean, he kind of just, Brandon Jacobs kind of just chokeslammed him in front of the referee, and the referee counted the pin. To me, that, you know, like I said, I know it's scripted and everything on that aspect, but for me, it's like, let's throw some logic in there and make it look real at the least. Have that referee get distracted, have that referee get knocked out, then have him choke slam him in the ring. And that was the one thing that just kind of irked me. It's like, referee's just standing there, doesn't call for the DQ. Okay, was this a no DQ match, and when was this announced? And it really wasn't announced, so that was just the one thing that really irked me. The match itself was fine, and it was just the whole ending of it. It was kind of like, okay, really? And that's pretty much all I have to say about that. Like I said, I don't mind them bringing in sports athletes to do anything with the wrestlers there. It was just, you know, let's use some logic when you're going to do it. And having that referee get distracted or potentially knocked out would have given some logic for, you know, having Brandon Jacobs get into the ring and chokeslam Bully Ray through that table at that point in time. But the way they did it kind of just made it come off stupid, and they're kind of just doing whatever the hell they want at that point in time. And that's pretty much all I have to say about TNA Impact this week. I hope you guys do enjoy watching my reviews over the shows, and I do thank you for watching.